Mr. Adams, I wonder if you could come forward.
Thank you for this opportunity to address the inquiry. My name is John Adams, and I live in Buckham Parish, less than a mile from the airport, and have been resident there for 24 years. We're just within the North Somerset Council boundary, so I'm a North Somerset Council ratepayer. Before that, I lived for 15 years in Bristol, and I brought up both my children in the region, and now my grandchildren live here. I'm also speaking on behalf of the Stop Bristol Airport Expansion campaign. SBAEX, Stop Bristol Airport Expansion, made its submission back in March, so I won't repeat the points in that submission, but would very much like the opportunity to extend a point we made in the end note of that submission. This planning application, and now the appeal against its refusal, has aroused widespread public interest, indeed passion. An enormous effort has been made by the local authority officers and the officers serving this inquiry to seek and channel public opinion into the planning system, right up to the testimonies we've been hearing over the last few days. However, there's a good deal of uncertainty on how this extensive consultation will make an impact on the inquiry, if any. The inquiry appeal guidelines seem vague and to that extent unhelpful. With full respect to the conduct and integrity of this inquiry, we can find little reassurance that there is a sound, transparent mechanism through which public opinion articulated so widely over many months will play a significant role in the decision-making process. So I'd like to use this opportunity to air this concern about the impact of public opinion on the decisions arriving from this inquiry process, and to spell out why we think public opinion should be a material factor. In his opening remarks, Airport Counsel focused on legal technicalities. However, in a couple of apparently casual asides, he seemed to seek to position the inquiry as closely as possible to a court of law. And to a layman, this environment and procedure does feel quite strongly like a court of law. Yet the planning appeal guidelines are unambiguous. This inquiry is not a court of law. Quote, "An inquiry is the most formal of the appeal procedures. It is not a court of law, but the proceedings will often seem quite similar." Unquote, reference provided. It seems to us that one fundamental difference lies in the role of the contribution of public knowledge and opinion. The inquiry guidelines state that local people are encouraged to take part in the inquiry process. Quote, "Local knowledge and opinion can often be a valuable addition to the evidence given by the appellant and the local planning authority." So it appears that this inquiry is both a legal and a political process, an analytical forum in which technicalities will be debated, but also a forum open and responsive to informed public views. The guidance I've just quoted in itself gives little confidence that any inquiry would necessarily attach significant value to the testimonies that have been so assiduously encouraged by the consultative procedures. It's really encouraging that on the evidence of the last few days in this room, that this inquiry appears to demonstrate that the planning inspectorate is in line with many other official UK bodies now taking public opinion increasingly seriously, not simply as a symptom of a healthy democracy, but because public opinion itself as we have heard, embodies an extraordinary range and depth of knowledge, indeed wisdom. We appreciate that public opinion in itself may not be a material consideration, but would like to assert that evidence of the weight of public opinion is very material to the decisions of this inquiry and should therefore play a major role in the decision-making process. At local level, public opinion was powerfully expressed when North Somerset elected an independent council back in May 2019. The great majority of the councillors elected featured opposition to airport expansion in their individual manifestos. And this was, of course, reflected in the rejection of the airport planning application back in February 2020. More widely, there is overwhelming regional opposition to airport expansion, rooted as shown in public opinion, as a matter of record. Regional councils, including Bristol and Bath, town councils, including Weston-super-Mare, many parish councils have voted against expansion, supported by regional members of Parliament. A wide range of community groups have voiced opposition to airport expansion, and across the region, public meetings organised by community and campaign groups, such as BAN, present here, have filled local halls to capacity. Public demonstrations have attracted many hundreds of protesters. Public opinion has generated a torrent of coverage across press, media and social media for nearly 2 years, showing the strength of feeling and knowledge-based concerns about airport expansion. Over 8,000 individuals have voted against expansion in the original public consultation organised by the local authority, and psephologists will confirm that this simply represents the tip of an iceberg. I won't develop this metaphor in terms of frozen votes or anything like that. This inquiry itself embodies the public opposition to expansion. While the airport legal team was ultimately funded by the $2 billion assets of the Ontario Teachers' Pension Plan, the owners of the airport, the anti-expansion legal representation of Rule 6 groups has been paid for entirely from the public purse, whether through council tax or through groups, such as ourselves, who have raised funds for the legal expenses of these Rule 6 parties through crowdfunding and other fundraising exercises. This all adds up to an extraordinarily wide-ranging, informed and powerful articulation of public opinion against the expansion of Bristol Airport. However, and I return to the point, despite the widespread opposition to airport expansion, we lack clarity of the ways and extent to which public opinion will impact on this inquiry. Without transparency, it's difficult to assuage the scepticism expressed in some quarters who see this inquiry, or might see this inquiry, as a bureaucratic tick-box exercise designed to rein in the willful and unruly tendencies of local democracy. If this inquiry were simply a technical exercise, the guidelines and the expensive consultation would be revealed as a simple cosmetic. This would constitute a major and cynical abuse of public trust in the planning procedure, with wider implications for the integrity of local democracy. We would therefore make a strong and respectful request to the panel, to the inquiry, for public opinion on each issue to inform the inquiry's deliberation at every stage, and for an indication of the impact and value of public opinion to be published in the final inquiry report. This appeal is taking place in the heartland of North Somerset at a time when council services for the community, education, social care and other resources, are under stress as never before in our lifetimes. Why was this appeal necessary? Surely the airport had prepared options, together with a risk assessment, in the event of the planning application not succeeding? Or was there simply a presumption that the application would be nodded through, as so often in the past? There were many, and are many, imaginative, sensitive and sustainable options for future development open to the airport. None of these seem to have been considered, but indeed, few of these would depend on an increase in passenger numbers. In short, this appeal reflects the airport's complete lack of preparation for a refusal of the original application and an unreformed determination to pursue an old-fashioned master plan, SICK, it is the airport's term, designed solely to boost the asset value of the airport. Defending this appeal is costing the council, in other words, every council taxpayer, dear. Now we learn from the airport's council that the airport and its wealthy owners have decided to go after the council for the costs of this appeal should it succeed. In other words, to go after me and every other council taxpayer in North Somerset to recover the cost of an action which the airport itself instigated. This would be widely seen as an act of vindictive reprisal by a corporate psychopath. Squeezing every last, sorry, I'm just drawing to a close, if I may have another 30 seconds. Squeezing every last penny from the depleted community services essential to every resident from 0 to 90 in North Somerset. I conclude. We have tried to make the case that planning appeal guidelines invite public participation through a range of consultative measures. It is less clear how an inquiry will register the impact of public opinion that has been generated and encouraged every step of the way through these public consultation exercises. We are asking, with great respect, for transparency on the ways and extent to which public opinion has influenced the decisions of the inquiry, perhaps and preferably with such clarification incorporated in the final report of the inquiry. And of course, beyond this, we are asking that this insensitive and obdurate appeal should be dismissed. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Mr.
Can I just ask one, it's just a simple point, I think I know what the answer might be, but the expansion is obviously to accommodate the wishes of millions of people from the southwest to fly, to visit friends, relatives, take holidays, study, conduct business, both into the UK and out of the UK. Are they also members of the public whose views and wishes should be taken into account?
I fully, sorry, sir. Have you finished?
I have, thank you.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I fully agree. And I think the airport, as a regional airport, has served this purpose for many, many years very successfully. However, the expansion, and we are only opposed to expansion, seeks to change the ballpark entirely. It seeks no longer to provide a regional service, but to draw in vast numbers of people from a much wider catchment area, simply to service and indeed boost the asset value of the airport. The airport used to be a good neighbour. It used to be a valued regional resource that was felt to be a part of the community. We were very happy to move there 25 years ago. However, the character of the airport has changed entirely. So we're not against the airport providing a service to those who need it. And at about 5 to 6 million, it will provide all the services that most reasonable people would reasonably expect of a regional airport.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think I'd just like to make a couple of comments on what you've said, sir, because obviously you were directing a number of comments at us on the panel. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to give any sort of indication as to how the eventual decision will go, but I mean, it's probably worth saying that we've read an enormous amount of written material that's come in from people, for and against. We've obviously got a lot of people appearing at the inquiry in person and virtually. And I mean, all I'd say at the moment, really, is that it is absolutely not a tick box exercise. Myself and my colleagues are going to spend quite a time after the inquiry finishes. If it was a tick box exercise, we could probably do it in a few days. It definitely isn't like that. We will be dealing with the public views in our decision. Whichever way the decision goes, there will be, I hope, a clear tracking through of public opinion. So I thought I'd just say that at this point, and I know the main parties will appreciate the position, but I thought it was worth making that comment. But thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, sir. I'm sure that is the case. I think the only thing we're pointing to is a lack of transparency about that aspect of the process.
Understood.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much for your time.